Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is CJ the Populist New Yorker, and today we have an exciting video because we're finally going to be doing our 2021 New Jersey gubernatorial prediction. We're just one day out from Election Day. Election Day is tomorrow. I honestly can't believe it's come so quick. So we're going to be doing our final New Jersey prediction today, and then on Election Day afternoon, I will upload my Virginia final gubernatorial election. I really chose to do New Jersey first, honestly, because it is a easier race to predict. Virginia is much tougher, and I kind of know which candidate I think is going to win, but I will release that video tomorrow. Also, before we get right into it, I want to mention that I will be streaming tomorrow night when polls close in Virginia, so probably around 7 or 8 Eastern. I guess stay tuned for that. But even if you just join for 5 or 10 minutes, come join the stream. We'll be watching the election results all night, hopefully until all the races are called. But if Virginia gets down to the wire, then it might not be called on election night. But we will stay for as long as we have to on stream. So come check that out. But without further ado, let's get into this video. So like I said, I probably made about 4 or 5 videos on New Jersey, and there were the last video I made was New Jersey getting narrower, and that is true. If we look at the polling averages, Ciattrelli has been polling better, I would say probably since September, October, but the margins that Murphy is getting, they're still high single digits, low double digits, but if you notice, since September, Murphy's only gotten one double-digit lead, and that was by registered voters. All the likely voters have this race a lot closer, so that is really interesting. And I think this is correlated really with Biden's approval nationally. Now, we're not seeing as big of an impact that's having in a state like New Jersey as we are with Virginia. Virginia is a less safe blue state. It's not a safe blue state. It's a likely blue state, in my opinion. New Jersey is a safe blue state on the presidential and federal level. But when it comes to gubernatorial races, it can get a lot closer. Now, if we look at the 538 New Jersey polls, I've filtered it out. So everything that's a B or an A poll is here. Latest averages are basically what we saw on Wikipedia. +9, +9, +11, +4, +9, +9, 13. For Murphy. Something I really thought was interesting that I actually found this morning, Biden's approval in New Jersey is only 43%. That's about the national average. That is devastating for a presidential candidate in a safe state to be underwater in a state that he won by around 16 points in the 2020 election. So this really goes to show you that Biden is falling off all across the country. His approval rating was 51% back in August. It's 43% now. Nationally, and one of the reasons I pull up 538 is because 538 actually tends to undersample Biden's unpopularity. It's probably more than this, but I'm trying to prove a point that even pollsters that tend to lean more towards the left still have Biden underwater by around 7-8 points, which is pretty bad. Obviously not exactly at Trump levels yet, but Biden just continues to be more and more unpopular, and the trend doesn't seem to be stopping. It's really putting a drag on Murphy, who's actually had to have Obama campaign for him in the state of New Jersey, and obviously we've seen with McCullough as well. He has every national Democratic star under the sun campaigning for him in Virginia. But if we look at the 2020 presidential election in New Jersey, Joe Biden got 57.1% of the vote to Donald Trump's 41.3%. Obviously, something I always think is interesting about New Jersey. New Jersey is one of the few blue states, large blue states anyway, where you actually have more blue counties than red counties. When you look at other big blue states like New York or California, maybe not California anymore, but certainly places like New York, Illinois, even Maine now, Minnesota. It's kind of interesting to see a state where you have blue and red counties, where the blue counties are in the majority in a state like New Jersey. A lot of times in, safe blue states with larger populations, you have a ton of red counties and a few blue counties that really weigh down the state, kind of like New York and Virginia and stuff like that. But New Jersey is not the case. If we look at the trends from 2020, We really saw big shifts to the right, really just in the New York metro area and kind of in northern New Jersey. But the rest of the state trended Democratic. Morris County probably, Morris and Warren counties probably most dramatically. Morris County actually flipping to Biden. This was a county that Trump won by several points back in 2016. But this was the margin in the 2020 election. When we take a look at Murphy's margin in 2017, Murphy only won by around 14 points. Wikipedia has the actual numbers. It's 14.1%. He underperformed Biden by several points. His year of winning was a blue wave year. This was a year where Donald Trump, was fairly unpopular. Virginia, honestly, Virginia's margin wasn't too. It was. I guess New Jersey was almost double, but in terms of support and everything, it wasn't that much different. New Jersey and Virginia voted a lot more similarly than they did the previous presidential year. So that's something worthy of note. But again, New Jersey is one of those states that, again, like Virginia, is an off year. So there's pretty low turnout. Compared to 2016, I'm pretty sure the 2017 gubernatorial race only had like 54% of the turnout from 2016. So basically half presidential turnout. So you're going to have some areas come in redder and some areas come in bluer than we'd expect, like Hudson County going 80-17 for Murphy. It really just depends. The more active voters are the ones that vote in these off years. And, I think this time around, Ciattrelli is going to benefit from that. We've seen, New Jersey's governor's races. Obviously, compared to last time, this one is certainly more competitive. Will it actually be competitive? Does Ciattrelli have a chance? I'd say he probably has about, at this point, maybe a 3% chance of winning. It's very, very, very unlikely. I think the only way Ciattrelli loses is if there's a colossal miscalculation in the polls. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I expect Ciattrelli to win, and at the end of this video, I'll show you my map of New Jersey, how I think New Jersey is going to map out, and the percentages, the lead that I think Murphy's going to win by. But I certainly think Murphy wouldn't have called in, big Democratic guns like Obama and stuff like that if he didn't think he was in trouble. Because at the time, that was around the time when we saw this poll where Murphy was only up by 6. And in a safe blue state, again, like New Jersey, that's pretty concerning. And again, Joe Biden is becoming a drag on Democrats all across the country. He's becoming a drag on McAuliffe and on Phil Murphy himself. And I really think we're going to see that play out in this election tomorrow. So again, the early vote, I don't have the Target Smart early vote data. It's pretty low. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of enthusiasm in this race, especially compared to Virginia, because really it's not as competitive. Basically we know Murphy has like a 98%, 97% chance of winning this race. So it's really not a race that anyone's putting too much money or effort into. A lot of that's going into Virginia. That's one of the reasons why this video is going to be shorter than my Virginia video. I think there's just less to discuss about it. I certainly think Ciattrelli is probably going to do better in some of these counties that Trump did pretty poorly in. Hunterdon, Warren, and Sussex County. I think those counties are going to be a darker shade of red than they are on this map. Same with Monmouth County, and probably do better in South Jersey. I think Atlantic County is probably going to stay blue, but I think you could see a flip in Cumberland County perhaps. Obviously Burlington County is going to stay. I'll put my final map up in just a moment, but I want to take a look real quick at the 2009 New Jersey governor's race, because this was the last time we saw a Republican win in New Jersey, not being an incumbent. In 2013, Kristi won a landslide re-election. Back in 2009, he unseated incumbent governor. So for Ciattrelli to unseat Phil Murphy, it's not really anything revolutionary. Of course, I think Democrats would have to be in a much worse position nationwide for Phil Murphy to risk losing the race. I don't think he's in danger of losing the race. It's certainly concerning and eyebrow raising, but I don't think it's a 4-alarm fire for Democrats like we're seeing in the state of Virginia, where, we see Youngkin now leading in polls by 8 points. I mean, that was the Fox poll. You could say it's an outlier, but he's up by 3. He's tied and down by 1. That's a toss-up race, and that is a 4-alarm fire for a governor that was fairly popular in his term. But in terms of New Jersey, when we look at the county map, it really all depends on turnout. Obviously, running up huge margins in places like Somerset County, which, by the way, if we look at the 2020 results, almost went to Biden by over 20 points. Interestingly enough, this is actually the home county of Jack Ciattrelli. I actually think he's going to win this county. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you actually look at the turnout differential, this county almost went red in 2017. In low turnout races, Somerset is a lot redder than it is presidentially. I think Jack Ciattrelli is probably going to win his home county come election day tomorrow. I could be wrong about that. I think it probably could happen, though, considering, Jack Ciattrelli is running a good campaign for New Jersey. I think he could definitely be doing more big events, kind of like what Youngkin's doing. But in terms of his policies, he's a moderate Republican. He's a pro-choice Republican. He doesn't lean in as much on the key culture war issues as somebody like Glenn Youngkin, because, Virginia is a much redder state than New Jersey. That certainly wouldn't play well in this state like it would in Virginia. But in New Jersey, Phil Murphy's popularity has been slipping quite significantly since the start of the pandemic, when he was at his most popular. So I think, that's why we're going to see a much closer race than people expect. And that's why my final prediction here is Murphy winning by around 8.4%. Now that seems, kind of eyebrow raising. Sorry, 8.6%. Kind of eyebrow raising. But when you look at, again, the 2017 election, this was a wave year for the Democrats, and Phil Murphy only won by 14 points. I think Jack Ciattrelli is going to cut that margin pretty significantly. Kim Guaidano never polled above 42% in any poll. Jack Ciattrelli is getting 45, 44%. Obviously some 41s thrown there, but I think with the momentum factor, I think he's going to do significantly better than people think. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he could probably keep this race in high single digits. I could be wrong about that, but as of right now, I feel pretty confident in saying that Jack Ciattrelli probably will get somewhere between 44 and 45% of the vote. This exact prediction is 53.6, 45%. Do I think that exactly will happen? Probably not, but I think I'll be somewhere in the ballpark. If I am right, though, I'll be pretty happy about that. But I could see Phil Murphy getting somewhere in the ballpark of around 1.3 million votes, and Jack Ciattrelli getting 1.1 million. Similar to the Kristi turnout, in fact, a little less than Kristi in 2009, which I think probably makes sense, honestly. Kristi was, again, we're talking about 2009. The political landscape was much different. You had much more Democrats willing to cross the aisle. I don't think that's the case this time around. So I certainly think that Jack Ciattrelli is really only going to be galvanizing Republicans and possibly some independents. But I don't really think he's going to be winning a lot of Democrats like Kristi did back in 2009. And that's ultimately why I don't think he's going to win the state. Again, I think he's going to keep it within high single digits. I think he's a good candidate for New Jersey. But, the country is a bit too partisan right now. The political landscape just doesn't favor Republicans enough. So perhaps Jack Ciattrelli could come back when the seat is open in 2025. I think he'd have a decent shot. Again, it really depends where national politics is at the time. But as of right now, my prediction still stands. I'll put it back up on the screen again. So I think Phil Murphy's probably going to keep this. It's probably going to be in high single digits. So I have Phil Murphy at 53.6 to Jack Ciattrelli's 45%. Now, give or take a point or so, but I think we're going to be somewhere in the ballpark. Perhaps I'm overestimating Republicans a bit, but I've been seeing all the national indicators say that this is going to narrow up. Virginia is going to narrow up. Virginia is narrowing up. Virginia's a toss-up. So I think certainly in the case of New Jersey, we're going to see a race in high single digits. And that's kind of what I expect to see on election night. I could be wrong. And perhaps if the New Jersey results come in earlier than Virginia and Phil Murphy's overperforming, that could be a bad sign for Youngkin in Virginia. So we'll wait and see what happens. But anyway, guys, that is my final prediction. Remember to tune into the live stream tomorrow night, probably at around 7 Eastern. I think it's going to be 7 Eastern. You'll probably see it posted scheduled tomorrow. So, tomorrow morning I'll probably figure out when I'm actually going to put it up. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any new videos. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this race in the comments below. As always, again, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.